Sorry, just checking my lights on. Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS back here with the third and therefore penultimate part of. It does look a bit dark, doesn't it, in the background? I think, but I do have three lamps, and one big light on. Believe it or not. Anyway, I'm back at you with the third and therefore penultimate part of whatever this is. Investors into Celtic for mutual success. I hope you enjoy it. Obviously, especially as many Celtic fans all around the world as many Celtic fans out there all around the world as possible in better English. I hope that I can encourage people to learn about Celtic as well on that note, and I hope videos like this help to raise the awareness of Celtic and therefore hopefully the brand value. Obviously, potential investors will probably more likely to want to invest in the club, so I hope I can help the club to raise its share price. And maybe talk about some of the reasons why I love and support Celtic, in spite of some of their flaws compared to our arch rivals. I think they're not as bad. Disappointing result today. 2-0 defeat. Got a player sent off, as I mentioned in part 2. I suppose I know it's not the end of the world, but it is disappointing. Has ruined my weekend a little bit, I'd say. Because football is, you can probably tell, quite important to me. I know there are bigger issues in the world, but I think there's something. I think you should be passionate about something that you. I mean, people should be able to do what they want. I think, but pretty much. But as long as it's not hurting other people or breaking the law. But I think it's good to have something you're passionate about, that rather than just float through life and not enjoying it. So football is one of the things I really enjoy, and I love to win as well. But obviously the opposition's got to try and do their best to beat you as well. But yeah, I know I'm waffling. But yeah, disappointing result, but I'm hoping it's like the first season when Big Ange, as we call him, #Big Ange, was in charge and did such a great job. But when he started, Celtic lost quite a few games and were quite a bit behind, but then suddenly went ahead and didn't look back after that. So I hope it's going to be like that, although Brendan Rodgers, unlike Ange, was at Celtic before, whereas with Ange it was something new and he had to rebuild a whole team. Whereas Brendan Rodgers has been here before, and also I can't remember much of the thoughts. So yeah, he is returning back, but it is his first season back. So hopefully he can show that he still has the quality, and hope he can prove critics like me wrong. But looking into the future, even if, heaven forbid, Celtic doesn't win this league and Rangers do win a double or even a treble, or even in Europe, heaven forbid, hopefully from next season Celtic will be a lot better and in a better position to have more and invest on decent players for the short and long term. So hopefully, even if we don't win this league, hopefully we can go back to winning it next season and getting back to winning doubles and trebles, all being well, with or without Brendan Rodgers. But anyway, that has been a long intro, I know, but I think that covers everything for what I want to say in the intro. But I'll say under Big Ange, it took a while to get going, although I'd say Brendan Rodgers was here before, so it is a bit different, but he is coming back after 2 or 3 seasons being out. Actually 4 or 5 seasons now. I think 4.5 seasons or so. But yeah, so hopefully Celtic can get back to winning ways, and hopefully the Rangers will slip up sooner or later, especially if they have to play in Europe as well. Hopefully that will tire them out, even if they get so far in Europe and then lose there, and hopefully domestically as well. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, at the moment it's not so great because they've gone ahead of us and we haven't managed to capitalise even when they've messed up. I was going to say, for any people who are football fans, but I'm not sure why someone who's not a football fan would want to check these videos out, but I appreciate all support. Anyway, on to the list. These are ideas, pointers, thoughts, plans, or whatever you want to call them. I prefer to call them pointers, or points, number 21 to 30. So as I say, I hope you enjoy them. And here goes. So number 21, I hope people will find out about the history, as say, of Celtic and be interested in it. And I would encourage people through these videos to find out more about Celtic and to learn about the history and share the passion and find out why people like me love the club so much. And also, I dream that people with an Irish connection or even a Celtic connection from the 8 Celtic countries, as I would call them, given my love for alliterations and whatnot, the 8 Celtic nations or countries, or whatever you call them. I dream that they will invest, like business people or even just regular people who have a little bit, even if it's just a small amount each, or even donate to the club and help it to build academies and things like that. So I'd love for Celtic to be a representative, not just of Ireland, or even of Irish people or those from the diaspora, but even of people from the Celtic diaspora. So let's say the 8 Celtic countries, which I've got to admit I can't name all of them. I think it's Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Cornwall, I think is one. And I got to admit, let's say I can't remember the rest. I think there's one like Brittany, I think is another. But if you can name any, please list them in the comment section and let me and everyone else know in the comment section. But yeah, I dream that the club will be representative of Celtic, of Celts basically as well. The Celtic world, the Celtic kingdoms and whatnot, or countries, as I would say. Not a big fan of kingdoms myself, but as a Republican. But anyway, I also dream that the people who already have shares in the club and can maintain their shares and equity, and whatever they invest in the club, they can maintain their investments. So historical shareholders will hopefully still have a place rather than having to sell the club outright. So even if new investors do invest, I dream that the club, as I mentioned before, to recap some of my other ideas that I came up with before, as I say, 21 again, I dream that they will still be able to maintain shares in the club. Moving on, number 22. At the same time, I would love for for fans, again, I know I mentioned this before, but I would love for fans to be able to have more of a say and have more control over the club, not necessarily to own it outright, because I think it would be cool to have wealthy investors who can do a lot more than fans with a limited budget. But as it's one of my biggest dreams in life to see Celtic overtake the Rangers, even officially, according to FIFA, UEFA, the SPL, and all those involved in football. So on official records, I would love for Celtic to be known as the greatest Scottish team in history, and possibly one of the greatest domestic. Well, it already is one of the greatest domestic club teams in history. But I would love for them to maybe even compete with Al Ahly of Egypt, which I think is the number one in terms of club team records, although the Rangers try to claim they are. But I would love for Celtic to overtake maybe even both of them, or at least compete with Al Ahly, which would be hard because I think we're quite a few trophies behind. And I suppose at the moment not firing as well. But it would be interesting to see who the fans would want to see involved in the club, and maybe we'll have disagreements on that. I know there's some things the fans say which I disagree with, like they say Tories out, and many wouldn't want wealthy investors. But, and I know I covered that before, but it would be interesting to read from and hear from fans like who they would like to. I know a lot of fans want to see the board out itself, and many want to see Peter Lowell out, just like his son's left or has announced his retirement, I think at the end of the season or something. I don't know if he's left with immediate effect or not. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see who the fans want to see got rid of and who they want to see them replaced with. So whether fans want to see the manager, maybe in part 4 I'll make a poll to see if people think Brendan Rodgers is still the man or should be there given until the end of the season, or he should be replaced, to see what fans think of that. It'd be great to gauge the opinion of the fans and see, I'd say, who fans want to see involved in the club. For me personally, I would love to see as many investors as possible and as much investment and sponsorship as long as it's done legally. Number 23, due to the club's charitable work, I would love for the club to work with the FIFA Foundation, UEFA Foundation, and other charities and foundations around the world. And hopefully they can help the club to have more pitches, stadiums, academies, and whatnot to develop football, especially for younger players, and especially like seven-a-side pitches and academies and that kind of thing. And also, I'd love for the school I support in Kenya, called the Rare Gem School, to work with Celtic and vice versa. So I'd love for Celtic to like give them football kits and fundraise for them to have access to STEM education and things like that. Maybe other schools in Africa as well. I was thinking that the Rare Gem School could become the Kenyan Celts, just like there's a Thai Tims. There's a Thai Tims, I think it'd be called if there was a Kenyan Celts. So I hope that it'll be as with all these groups, I hope it'll be a mutual benefit, just like with investors and things like that. But I think it'd be good for the PR. I know I'm talking mainly about investors and sponsors, but I think it would be good, obviously, for the PR of the club. I know the club already does a lot of work, and certainly has done in the past, which I hope they'll get back round to. Maybe it stopped a little bit after COVID, but it would be great to see them continue with that work that they did before in Mali, Malawi, and elsewhere, including in Kenya, where they already have the Kibera Celts from the slum in Kenya. I think that's one of the biggest slums, or the biggest slum in Africa, and Celtic have their own academy there. So it'd be cool to see them having many academies in Africa, Asia, and around the world. And hopefully it'll be a mutual benefit, because they'll be able to produce great players and get so many fans, supporters, and whatnot from those countries. As I mentioned before, like there's two types of supporters, or two types of ways of supporting. One as fans and psychologically and all that kind of thing, and second in terms of investments and sponsorship and things like that. Another thing I was thinking of is like a company called CX, or they pronounce it in the advert, they pronounce it sex, but it begins with C as well. But I just, for some reason, I think it'd be cool if CX, as I would pronounce it, would invest in and sponsor Serie A Italian teams and Celtic as well. And I don't know how much money they have, but it'd be interesting if they could have like £1 million sponsorship deal, or maybe I'm being naive again, but for Italian teams and for Celtic, maybe like where their name is mentioned on the sleeve, or there could be certain kits that they make which have the name or CEX and some information about the company and what it does, like buy and sell games and whatnot. And maybe the stands could have their branding and things like that. But generally, I love for as many companies and investors and whatnot to invest in and sponsor the club. Moving on, number 24. On that note, I would love for the club to have so many different kits. And again, maybe I'm being naive, and this is a bit of a controversial idea in a way, because I know clubs can often be accused of selling so many kits so that young fans want to buy them and that kind of thing. But it would be a great way to bring in more revenue if, like, say, Rwanda, which wants to promote their country and tourism, has like sponsors Celtic and all possible countries, like Visit Malaysia, Truly Asia, Incredible India, China's Tourism Board, and others, like helped Celtic to design special kits for Celtic, and in return, like, gave sponsorship for Celtic so that they're helping their tourism industries for countries like Malaysia, India, and elsewhere. And also, I would love for the club to have investment and sponsorship and support from local and national politicians in Scotland and maybe even across the UK, in Glasgow and also Scotland and across the UK, and also work with Celtic and Gaelic political parties, which could help them, again, fund football pitches, especially for young people and things like that, for instance, and that kind of thing, which I hope will benefit the young people in Glasgow, as well as especially Celtic fans and the club in the long term, especially, and also have lottery funding and things like that. And again, have sovereign wealth funds from all over the world invest in them, as well as like the tourism. As I say, if there was like Visit Rwanda and things like that, if there were special kits for each country or all possible countries, Visit Ireland or whatever, as many countries as possible. So hopefully they'll give some sponsorship money for the club, however that much that might be, which could be quite a lot of money. Sometimes it could be a few million even. And if so many countries around the world do that, it could all add up, especially for a Scottish team. it'd be interesting what they could do, because you don't need a huge amount of money to dominate Scotland. So it'd be interesting what they could do with so much money, and to see if they could do well in Europe as well. Number 25, I would love for people who support republics to invest in and donate to the club. Number 26, also anti-imperialists. Some of the reasons why I support the club are like as a support of republics, anti-imperialism, pacifism, conscientious objection, and things like that. Those who are basically anti-empire, or in other words, anti-imperialists. Number 27, also those who wish to reward the club for the good work it does in places like Kenya, Malawi, and elsewhere. I think it's Malawi, it could be Mali. And I hope the club can help those countries to have STEM education, for instance, and things like that. And also do more work in China, India, and across Asia as well. Number 28, again, I hope the club can use some of that money, as well as benefiting the club, to benefit tackling poverty, alleviating suffering, and making the world a better place. And so, as I say, I hope the club gets rewarded for all the good charitable work they do, but also manages to make things even better for people in Africa, or better than, sorry, I say even better, to help even more, rather, for people in Africa and Asia, and improve their lives, and even Latin America and elsewhere around the world, and tackle poverty wherever it may be, and help the most disadvantaged people. So with that investment, as well as, I'll say, buying better players, investing in academies, doing all that great stuff, that will benefit the club on the pitch. I hope it'll also be able to, the club will also be able to give back to those less fortunate. Number 29, I hope my fellow mixed race people and other POC, people of colour, or non-WASPs, even non-white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, and neurodiverse people and others will be able to showcase what we can do. And hope maybe the club could work with like disabled people as well, generally, even those with physical and mental disabilities as well, to so physical, mental, and learning disabilities, to sort of talk about the positive side of disability, like the ability in disability. So putting the ability in disability, putting the ability into disability, something like that anyway. If you please let me know what you think could be the best slogan. And number 30, on that note, please let me know who you think could be encouraged to invest in and sponsor the club, and strict or sponsor the club, and what do you think could make more people, more organisations, associations, businesses, and potential investors and sponsors and whatnot be willing to do so. Sorry, I'm all over the place, I know, but again, apologies that this video went on a bit longer than planned. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. And as ever, please consider liking, subscribing if you're new, and also please let me know what you think, and I hope you won't be too harsh. I'm going to stop waffling. Peace and love.